Thank you very much. And there it is. Okay, back on the air with all the trial and error. Here we go. I was listening to talk radio early this morning. As I geared up to do my ride share, and just to get a sense of what people were talking about with regard to the administration, whether they're talking about the fact that the state of Israel had been invaded by a drone, which is a very serious international incident, one that is illegal in international law and custom, and that Israel responded by obliterating the Hezbollah drone sites, about half of them in Syria. Thank God. Let's hope and pray that there's no loss of a Jewish life and that or innocent life, and that Israel does not confront a major war. But instead, what they're talking about is whether or not President Trump reacted quickly enough to the fact that one of his aides apparently turned out to be a wife beater, and that he had not been properly screened by the FBI. You know, this is like a big story for them. I mean, they're just droning on about it. It was ironic to see, for example, yesterday, George Stephanopoulos, the host of Meet the Press, I think it is, one of those big, mainstream shows, really grilling the Trump representative on the show about this. It's ironic, given the fact that George Stephanopoulos had played interference for accused rapist and serial sexual molester Bill Clinton. But of course, that's not discussed. And that this really the line of attack against President Trump? You notice they're no longer talking about Russia collusion. That issue seems to have almost evaporated in the face of evidence now that it was Hillary who was doing the colluding, and that people in the FBI and the Department of Justice were spying on President Trump and candidate Trump as a way to destroy him, activities that are highly illegal. By the way, tomorrow I'll be joined by an FBI agent, former FBI agent who has a book out, that being Mark Ruskin, and I'm going to ask him about corruption at the FBI. He generally would not be someone that would be sympathetic to my point of view on this, but we'll see what happens. But, the ridiculousness of this attack, it shows the utter hatred that the left has toward President Trump. It's that simple. This is this is a problem that exists throughout society. You have people who are abusive to wives and who are, I'm glad they're being called out. That's important. We ought to know that. But really, to try to pin it on President Trump, let's take a look at not just Clinton, but look at John Edwards and Al Gore and some of these other people who have been accused of crimes against women. And to make this an issue for Trump, are they really expecting people's hatred, to gin up hatred against him because he's going to be portrayed in a stereotypical way as this evil white man, a rich white guy? Meanwhile, of course, you have Nancy Pelosi out there in Congress saying that the tax refund, the bonuses are, quote, crumbs, unquote. It's so arrogant. I mean, they just don't seem to get the fact that President Trump and his administration, they're winning. And they're just, the hatred is so caustic. I can tell you that this past weekend, maybe this is why I'm a little bit unfocused right now, but I had to spend the weekend with relatives of mine, and these people are hard left, and they just despise Trump so much that they can't mention his name in the House. For a brief minute, we were watching the Olympics, and the camera went to Vice President Mike Pence, and like they froze. It was almost like you could feel the utter, shock of this. I mean, these people, I mean, I think that Michael Savage is right when he says that liberalism is a mental disorder. I mean, these people are locked in some kind of an ideological cage that they can't be that they can't have shaken. They're goose stepping along. The Boston Globe just did an attack piece over the weekend on this guy who has like a blog site. It was his name, Charles C. Johnson. They refer to him as an internet troll, and they're totally throwing the kitchen sink at him. Now, I'm not here to vouch for him. I'm going to try to reach him, maybe do an interview. Their accusations are that he's anti-Semitic because he questioned the numbers involved with the Holocaust. Okay, I don't like that. But he's not an anti-Semite. He worked for years on the staff of Alan Dershowitz at Harvard Law School, helped Dershowitz edit his papers, and Dershowitz likes and admires him. And Dershowitz is one of the most outspoken Jewish activists in this country. So I just think that that's, it's ridiculous. And, white supremacist, I don't think so. I think he might have interviewed Richard Spencer or whatever. I mean, he's seen with him or something in the same room back in the 1990s. No, I mean, I just don't see that. I mean, he was a student of Milton Academy. If you look a little deeper into him, I get the distinct impression that the reason that he's being attacked is because he's throwing some pretty big bricks at the liberal establishment. Otherwise, they would ignore him. They certainly will ignore me because they can't hang any of those things on me. But with him, they can. He's made some inappropriate remarks. He's out there. He's one of these internet type guys who, likes to be outrageous and likes to be wild. And, there's just part of that. There's part of the zeitgeist of the internet. It's not the avenue that I'm going to be going down. But, you have, people trying to, get a little crazy just to get clicks. I even noticed Ben Shapiro, who is someone that I respect and who has a great internet page. I think his last tag cover showed a sexy girl, right? He's trying to get sucked into this idea of let's raise the traffic. Now, look, I'd like to raise my own traffic. I'd like to get subscribers. I don't make any bones about that. But I'm hoping to do it more conventionally, more organically. And perhaps the model that I'm looking to in that regard is Professor Jordan Peterson. He's a professor of psychology at the University of Ontario, who, he doesn't do anything slick. He doesn't do anything super fancy. There's no blue lights in the background and anchor desks and flashy images going back and forth. He just sits there and delivers content. He delivers his thoughts. He shares his soul and his mind and his intellect with his listeners. And the result is that he's huge on the internet. And that's sort of my vision. That's my model for this program. I'm not going to put up pictures of sexy girls. I'm not going to do like some of these guys like a Charles Johnson does, where he says outrageous things just for the sake of being outrageous, and then kind of laughs his way along after he gets like millions of hits. I get the temptation of doing that, of course, but I just am not going to go in that direction. However, the Boston Globe really should be ashamed of attacking him. I think that the only reason they're doing it is because if you look at his website, which is, Get News and a couple of others, they may be a little out there and they're a little ribald and they can be a little grotesque, but he is taking on some big, big issues. Now, as far as the question of anti-Semitism goes, I mean, I hardly think that the left should be crowing about that. Now a year after he's out of office, someone releases pictures of Barack Obama with Louis Farrakhan, who's one of the most vicious anti-Semites in this country. Talk about conspiracy theories. He's got conspiracy theories about the Jews being behind 9/11 and, being like the reptilian race and who knows what else. I've interviewed one of the Nation of Islam guys locally, and it was just awful. It was just he talks about ancient Israel. He quotes from the Old Testament, and when he talks about ancient Israel, he refers to it as Palestine. That's ridiculous. It's a lie. This is how utterly hateful they are toward the state of Israel and toward the Jewish people. And when they point the fingers saying, oh, this person believes in conspiracy theories, I'm just going to sort of wrap it up here today by just pointing out that perhaps the biggest of all conspiracy theories lately, the mother of all conspiracy theories in the news this past year, has been the Trump-Russia conspiracy theory, which has proven to be completely false so far, unless they can provide even a shred of evidence. And that's a theory that has gotten huge support from the mainstream press, all the way from the New York Times, all the liberal establishment all over the world has jumped on that one and given millions of hours of time and spent countless amounts of money promoting that crazy cockamamie conspiracy theory. And that's all it is, a conspiracy theory. So first of all, I don't generally dabble in conspiracy theories unless there's some proof, unless there's a fact. I do think that there are conspiracies, but I think we have to be very careful with conspiracy theories. As usual, as is the case with the left, their outrage over the promulgation of conspiracy theories is entirely situational. They will reject conspiracy theories, and they will accept others that promote their cause, and that is destroying their enemies and advancing forward in their authoritarian direction. Then, sure, they'll weave the biggest conspiracy theories ever. In fact, their entire edifice is based upon a conspiracy theory, and that was what Marx referred to as the theory of exploitation, that somehow those who are successful in society are successful because they conspired to rip off those who are less successful. This is a conspiracy theory. It's a philosophical conspiracy theory, and it's false. And it's generalized, it's ignorant, and it's shorthanded. Their whole premise of like the haves versus the have-nots, it's basically false. It doesn't take into consideration every single individual and the idea that probably at least most, if not virtually all, but not all, people who are in the have category are there because they earned it, are there because they did something to achieve it. And the people who are in the have-not category, there's a lot of reasons for that. It may not be that they're to be venerated, they're sacrosanct, held up for adoration, but they could be there because they've made mistakes. It's an individual thing. It's not, in a way, I'm my whole approach to it would be the opposite of the collectivist approach, which is to create these vast, broad categories and then jam everyone into them. So, look from whence the conspiracy theory cometh. And with regard to a lot of these things, they are originating with those who are pointing an accusing finger at the rest of us for actually trying to uncover what are genuine conspiracies and to trying to do it responsibly. Not that we can't have improvements. We have to be very careful in that regard. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon. I shall return tomorrow at 12 noon with my guest, that being Mark Ruskin. He's an FBI agent, the former FBI agent. We'll be talking about his experiences undercover in the FBI, but also I want to talk about the news as it stands right now with the accusations of the appearance of major corruption in the FBI. And I think it started with the appointment of Bob Mueller, who I think was a very political appointment. He's not a classic agent. He's and by the way, I'm not going to apologize for stuff the FBI did back in the day either. I heard someone say, well, since when don't conservatives, all of a sudden conservatives are criticizing the FBI? Why didn't they criticize it when they were bugging Martin Luther King Jr. or interrogating, Monica Lewinsky without the presence of a lawyer? Well, by the way, Martin Luther King Jr., the bugging of Martin Luther King Jr. was ordered by a Democrat Attorney General, Robert Kennedy. And the interrogation of Monica Lewinsky happened under the auspices of Attorney General Janet Reno. So, they weren't exactly Republican or conservative things anyway. But putting that aside, I want to thank you for listening. My name is Chuck Morse. The program is Monday through Friday, 12 noon, and other times during the day, if I can break away and do one. You can also see it on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn. And my books are available on Amazon. My column is available on Newsmax. Have a good day, everybody.